Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to be making homemade from scratch beef and cheese empanadas. Empanadas are so versatile and you can fill them with whatever you like, but here's how I do them today. Okay, so first I'm going to make my empanada dough. Now you can definitely skip this part, maybe move ahead in the video if you already have store-bought empanada dough or wrappers. Okay, so here I have not quite a cup of water. This is actually 225 milliliters. It's right under a cup of water, and this is warm water. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar right into the warm water. And I also will be using a 1/4 cup of oil, a teaspoon of salt, and here I have 3 2/3 cups of all-purpose flour. I know that's like a weird ratio of flour, but trust me, it works. Okay, so I'm going to add my salt, give that a mix. Now I'm going to add my water right in the center and my oil. You could also use butter, about 4 tablespoons of melted room temperature butter. Okay, now you're just going to give it a mix. I'm going to start with the wooden spoon and then start working the dough with my hands. Now you're just going to mix it until a dough ball forms. Okay, so what I'm going to do is flour my work surface. I'm using around 2 tablespoons of flour, maybe a 1/4 cup, something like that. Now, I'm going to put my dough here, and I'm just going to start kneading this until the dough is sort of smooth on the surface. It'll probably take me around 10 minutes of kneading. So at this point, I've been kneading, actually this has been about 5 to 6 minutes, so the dough is pretty worked. It's soft. I can work with it. It's not sticking too bad. So right back into... Okay, so I'm going to cover this and place this in my refrigerator for about an hour. Okay, I'm going to make a rub or seasoning for the empanada filling. I'm going to be using ground beef today, so I'm going to start with 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of beef bouillon powder. This is tashita. You could just use maybe a teaspoon of salt in place of this if you don't have it or don't want to use it, but I'm going in with 2 teaspoons. And they're not packed teaspoons, they were just kind of scooped loosely. So maybe 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of that. And 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. You could use regular. I like the smokiness. Now just give it a mix. And I'm ready to start cooking my mixture. Okay, here I have my pan preheating on a medium heat. I'm going to add maybe a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of oil. Now I'm going to saute half of a small onion. I'm going to add a pinch of salt. I'm going to cook these until sauteed, softened, and translucent. Now I'm going to be adding 1 pound of ground beef. Now I'm going to add my seasoning mix. This is the mixture of dry seasonings that I made earlier. I'm going to continue to cook the ground beef until it's cooked well and everything is combined. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. This is going to help thicken any juices or any fat that rendered from the beef so it doesn't really sog up the empanada later. Okay, so I've shut off the heat and my ground beef mixture is done. So I'm going to let it set and come to room temperature, or at least cool, before I add it to the empanadas. Okay, so my dough has rested, so I kind of skipped ahead. And what I'm doing is making little dough balls. Now you can roll it out and cut, your empanadas with a cutter. So that works. But for the rest of them, for the leftover dough after cutting it, I just put them into little dough balls and I'm basically rolling them out like, little mini tortillas. And that's another way. So you can cut it or roll it out. I'm actually doing both ways so I can use all of the dough. And the amount of dough for about 4 to 5 inch round empanada, discs, you probably could get at least somewhere between 18 to 22. And I didn't measure the dough balls for accuracy. I at least want to get, like I said earlier, a dozen, but pretty much I can tell this dough is going to yield around 18 to 20. Okay, so I'm working with about 15 discs of dough. Like I said, I still have some dough left over to roll out, but I'm going to go ahead and start making the empanadas to show you. By the way, do not stack these on top of each other. Some of those really got stuck together. I lucked out because I think I did dust it with enough flour, but long story short, keep them separate. You can put them on a baking sheet or on your work surface and maybe roll some out, make them, then roll some more out and assemble them together. Whatever's convenient for you, but I also have some, left out here. So you want to make sure, don't stack them on each other. I actually thought it would work kind of like how I do my dumpling dough, but it did not. So here we are. I'm going to start making these empanadas. All right, so I'm going to be filling this with my cooked ground beef mixture. You could fill it with chicken. You can do a traditional empanada. I have an older video from like 4 years ago. I did ground beef with raisins, olives, some boiled egg in it. I actually like those. We grew up having them that way, but my kids like the ground beef and cheese, so that's what I'm doing today.
Okay, you guys, I failed to mention I'll be using around 6 to 8 ounces of shredded cheddar cheese. So you'll want to add 1 tablespoon of shredded cheese in the center along with 1 tablespoon of your ground beef mixture. And that should be enough to fill this 4 to 5 inch empanada. Now you don't want to overfill it. So now I'm going to basically wet the edges of the empanada, and this will help seal it when you're ready to crimp it or kind of roll and pinch the edges. You could use the method of your choice. You could actually just fold it over, remove most of the air from the center or as best as you can, and then crimp it with a fork. That's super easy. So use the method that you find convenient to seal it.
I may have overstuffed that one, but let's see. Okay. There it is. Okay, so I still have filling left. Like I stated earlier, you could probably make somewhere between 18 to 20 empanadas, but I have my empanadas, the ones that I rolled out, done already. I'm going to be baking these. Now for these, I'm going to fry and, see which one my family likes better. And you can make these all baked. You could probably do this in an air fryer as well. I haven't tested that yet, but I will be frying these. So in the meantime, while my oven is preheating and I get my oil ready, I'm actually going to place these in the refrigerator just to let them chill and set. Okay, so for my baked empanadas, or the ones I'm going to bake, I'm going to brush oil on the exterior. I already did. You could do an egg wash if you want. Oil, I just did a little bit of avocado oil. Now I'm going to put these in a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven and bake them for about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to be frying my empanadas in my small cast iron skillet. I've added my fry oil. I used avocado oil. Use the oil of your choice. Just make sure it has a good smoke point or a high smoke point. I filled this up not quite a ½ inch, maybe a 1/3 inch deep, and I'm just going to let this preheat over a medium heat. Okay, so once my oil starts to bubble around the wooden spoon, I'm pretty much where it needs to be. A good fry temperature is between maybe 340, 350. So I am going to add my first empanada carefully. I'm going to cook 2 at a time. I'm going to cook 2 at a time. And I'm probably going to fry this somewhere between maybe 5 to 6 minutes, maybe less. I'll let you know. But for sure, 2 minutes on each side. Okay, so these actually have been frying for just about 5 minutes. You see the color is like a nice golden brown color. And also when you're doing this, be careful, like you can see a little steam hole. If I flip that over, it'll cause the grease to splatter. So just be careful when you're frying these. And the reason why it kind of popped is because I probably left some air in there and it kind of, you know, pops and builds up the pressure. Okay, so my empanadas are done. The fried empanadas, by the way, my son took a bite of it. But you can see it cooked all the way through. And the fried ones took about 6 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes. So that's a little over 2 minutes on each side. But it also will vary depending on how high or hot you have your oil. And here are the baked ones. I actually let these bake for about 23 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So these are 2 ways to make empanadas, and the homemade dough is really delicious, but I understand if it's more convenient to buy store-bought. I do that all the time. But look at that. These are beef and cheese empanadas. Okay, so I'm going to make a dipping sauce. I basically just grabbed what I had in my pantry and fridge to see if I can come up with a sauce. I have 1 avocado that's ripe. It's going in. Right in there. Now I'm going to add a 4-ounce can of diced green chilies. I drained it. Now I'm going to add some Mexican table cream. I would say maybe a cup. I'm going to use the rest of it that I have. Fresh cilantro. I'm going to add lime juice of a medium lime, the juice of a lime. Now I'm going to add salt. Maybe start with a 1/4 teaspoon. And you have a creamy avocado dip. You can dip it, scoop it, dollop it. Perfect. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.